Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge's Beth Cruelty asking Brooke to send granddaughter packing is a low blow. The Bold and the Beautiful B&B spoilers reveal that Ridge Forrester Torsten K struck a low blow when he gave Brooke Logan Cather and Kelly Lang an ultimatum in the December 13th episode. Brooke and Ridge obviously don't agree about Hope Logan's Annika Noel level of blame in Carter Walton's Lawrence St. Victor LLC takeover plot. That's not changing anytime soon, but Ridge at least insisted on Brooke making a big change for him. Ridge essentially delivered an "it's her army" warning when he told Brooke that he couldn't live on the same property with Hope. Brooke was aghast over Ridge's demand and quickly shut down the idea of sending Hope and Beth Spencer Jordan Grace out of their own home. Beth's inclusion here certainly seems important to note, especially since we've seen Ridge acting so grandfatherly when it comes to Beth in the past. Now it's clear that in the end, Ridge doesn't care all that much about Brooke's granddaughter. Hope is living all the way down at the cabin with Beth and probably isn't eager to cross paths with Ridge considering he just called her a nasty little bitch to her face. There's no way Hope was going to be hanging around Brooke's house to invite more bashing. In other words, Ridge's ultimatum was about his own ego, pure and simple. This was about Ridge wanting Brooke to punish Hope and put him first, but this honestly feels cruel to little Beth. Why should Beth have to be kicked out of the home she loves because Brooke's husband said so? Many B&B fans can agree Beth is an innocent child who shouldn't be involved in this at all. Ridge should have been a mature adult and realized that what he was demanding of Brooke would affect Beth just as much as it affected Hope. Of course, Brooke probably wouldn't have changed her answer even if Beth wasn't a factor, so perhaps that's something to keep in mind. As for Ridge, maybe he anticipated Brooke wouldn't go for the idea and was just looking for an excuse to leave. Regardless, it made Ridge seem like a total jerk when he didn't care one bit about whether Beth suffered. Ridge eventually walked out when Brooke refused to go along with his demand, but his ultimatum was still a bad look. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers say things are only going to get worse for Ridge and Brooke, so stay tuned for updates on all the bad news and more predictions on the erupting drama. The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge's Beth Cruelty asking Brooke to send granddaughter packing is a low blow. The corridors of the Forrester estate had never felt so tense. The air was thick with unspoken words, lingering emotions, and broken promises. At the center of it all was Ridge Forrester, the patriarch whose decisions have always been as dramatic as the soap opera he inhabits, but this time, his actions went beyond the typical scandals and misunderstandings that the Forrester family was known for. This time, Ridge's cruelty was directed at someone who didn't deserve it, his granddaughter, Beth. Ridge had always been a complicated character. His family ties, both by blood and marriage, had shaped his worldview in ways that made him both a beloved figure and, at times, a deeply flawed one. He loved deeply, but when his pride and insecurities came into play, there was no telling how far he could go. His relationship with Brooke Logan had been marked by ups and downs, but one thing that was often a constant was his devotion to his children and grandchildren. Or so we thought. The tension between Ridge and Brooke had been building for months. It wasn't just the typical marital discord, it was a clash of values, a disagreement over what was truly important in their lives. And at the heart of it all was their family, and specifically, their granddaughter, Beth. Ridge had always been protective of his children, but his harsh stance on Beth seemed to cross a line that no one saw coming. The heart of the issue began when Beth was caught in the crossfire of a family dispute involving the Forresters and the Logans. As usual, the Logans were not without their enemies, and Ridge had never been shy about expressing his disdain for his wife's family. Tensions had simmered, but it was when Ridge saw Beth, Brooke's granddaughter, as an extension of the Logan family that things took a dark turn. In a dramatic showdown, Ridge's words cut deep. In an unexpected outburst, he asked Brooke to send Beth packing. His request wasn't born from concern or a desire to protect, no, it was rooted in something much more bitter and vindictive. He didn't want Beth around, not because she was a threat or a problem, but because of the family she represented, the family that Ridge had always found difficult to accept. To anyone watching from the outside, it was a shocking request. Ridge had always been someone who believed in family unity, despite the tangled relationships. He had been a father, a husband, and a grandfather, and each of those roles seemed to be a source of pride. But now, Ridge's behavior had taken a darker turn, fueled by old resentments and new frustrations. And when he asked Brooke to send Beth away, it was a low blow that would resonate through the Forrester family for years to come. Brooke, for her part, was devastated. She had never imagined that her husband, the man she had stood by through thick and thin, would be so cold and dismissive when it came to her flesh and blood. Beth was her granddaughter, a sweet and innocent child who had already been through so much in her young life. To have Ridge, of all people, ask her to cast her own flesh and blood aside was a blow that left her questioning everything she thought she knew about their marriage. And the timing of it all only made the situation worse. Beth's mother, Hope, had already been through a tumultuous time with her own relationship with Liam. The family had faced heartbreak, struggles, and emotional upheaval. To ask Brooke to choose between her granddaughter and her husband was a cruel demand that no one should ever have to face. Ridge's words echoed in the tense silence that followed. It wasn't just the request to send Beth away that stung, it was the underlying implication that the Forrester name, the Forrester legacy, was somehow more important than the love of family. Ridge, in his anger and bitterness, had forgotten one of the most important lessons of all: family is everything. The Forresters, despite their wealth, their power, and their influence, were no more important than the love they shared with each other. Without that love, the name meant nothing. Brooke was left to grapple with a question she never thought she would have to answer: could she stay with a man who would so easily dismiss her granddaughter, her family, and the love that had defined her life? She had spent years defending Ridge, trying to mend the fractures in their relationship, but now she was forced to question if their marriage was worth saving. How could she continue to be with a man who would demand she betray the very values that had always been at her core? The ripple effect of Ridge's words would not just affect his marriage, but the entire Forrester clan. Steffi, Thomas, and the rest of the Forrester children would be forced to take sides. Ridge's latest outburst had cast a shadow over what was supposed to be a time of unity and healing for the family. And while Brooke tried to maintain a semblance of calm, she knew that Ridge's request was a direct attack on everything she stood for. As Ridge sat in the quiet of his office, contemplating the damage he had done, the weight of his actions began to sink in. The Forrester legacy was built on strong relationships, on love and loyalty. But Ridge, in his pursuit of what he thought was best, had lost sight of that. He had taken his anger and frustrations out on the one person who could never hurt him, his granddaughter. And in doing so, he had torn a hole in the fabric of his family that would not be easily repaired. For Brooke, the road ahead was uncertain. She had always been the emotional backbone of the family, the one who held everything together when it threatened to fall apart. But now, Ridge's cruelty had put her in an impossible position. Could she forgive him? Could she stay with a man who had so easily cast aside the love of her life, her granddaughter, in favor of his own bitterness? Or was it time for her to finally choose her family over the man she had once loved so fiercely? One thing was clear: Ridge's request to send Beth packing was more than just a low blow. It was a turning point in the Forrester family drama, one that would leave a permanent scar on the relationships that had once seemed unbreakable. And as the story unfolded, viewers would be left to wonder whether Ridge could ever repair the damage he had done, or if the Forrester family would be forever changed by his actions.